Okay, well, it is exactly the top of the hour, and I want to thank everybody for joining. We'll get started, and let me just do this. Yeah. Okay, great. My name is Greg Wood. I am with the IETF LLC, and I want to thank you for joining this test session for Medico ahead of IETF 109. Even if you used Medico for IETF 108 or previously, there have been some recent changes and based on feedback. And so one of the goals of this session is to highlight those changes, but we'll also cover just generally how Medico works and what you need to do to have the best experience during IETF 109 with Medico. You should be able to see my video and hear me, and I will be trying to keep an eye on chat, but I may miss something, but we'll pause throughout the session. As I want to note that the session is being recorded, so maybe this one or maybe one other of the testing sessions will be posted to the YouTube channel for people who aren't able to make to the session in real time. You should be seeing a slide that shows what we'll cover today, but we're a small group, and I think we'll have plenty of time. So if you have questions along the way, please, you can just use the raise hand icon, which you should see just below your name. It looks like a hand with little up arrows next to it, and that'll put you in the queue, and then we can go from there. You are also able to just enable your audio and video at any time. So just so you know that if you click on those, you will immediately start sending audio or video. So with that, we'll just get right into it. You can see that we are having this testing session today. This is the last of the scheduled testing sessions. We've had 5, 2 for chairs and 3 for participants. If any of you are chairing a session, I'm happy to also along the way cover details about what capabilities there are for chairs, and so let me know if you have questions about those. Yes, Stanislav, I see you in the queue. Please go ahead. You'll have to press your audio.
Hello, Greg. Yes, I'm a separate chair, so I will be happy if you cover the questions about chairing because I wasn't able to participate in testing for chairs. Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic, great. Well, then I will for sure take a little time along the way as we go through the first time, and then I'll come back and cover in some more detail. And of course, I can answer any questions that you have. I think we'll have plenty of time for questions. One thing I do want to say is that at the end, if any of you are chairing or expect to present during a session, I would encourage you strongly to test sharing your desktop if that's part of the plan, but also to make sure that you coordinate with your chairs or co-chairs or participants to make sure you understand the plan on the day, because you'll need to make sure that the content is all ready and set up properly to share most efficiently during the session. So with that, as I mentioned, we had 5 testing sessions. We will be posting recordings of a couple of the sessions to the YouTube channel, and I'll send out a note so that people will know where to find them. We also have web pages that are guides for both session chairs and participants, and links to the recordings will be posted there. In addition, we have just a general guide about Medico that's been updated to talk about some of the features that are new this time around. And if you're a chair, there's a chair checklist actually that you can find on the session chair guide that can help you just make sure you have everything set up in advance and during the session to make your chairing run as smoothly as possible. So that's what we have to date. During IETF 109 week, we will also have a testing session open 30 minutes before the meeting sessions and 30 minutes after the meeting sessions each day. So in case you wanted to drop in and just test on the day, you're going to be free to do that before the sessions start. And for chairs, if you would like to double check your setup or just test it again with your co-chair or presenters, we will have slots, as we did with 108, we'll have slots during the week that you can schedule 30 minutes to test in the chair role, so you can see exactly how those controls work. So those will be, both of those things will be available during the meeting week itself. Yeah, so a little bit about Meetup requirements. Obviously, you're in the session, so you have met the requirements, but generally, Meetup is a WebRTC-based application, so you need a WebRTC-enabled browser. It does work to some extent on mobile browsers, but it's best used via a desktop browser. We're expecting that there'll be 3 or 4 videos being sent or shared at once during any particular session, and so that'll require about a megabit or 2 megabits of internet connection to make that work smoothly. Yeah, so I think that's it for the requirements. I'll talk a little bit about the session flow, joining the sessions. Again, everybody has joined here, so you've experienced it. Generally, you do need an IETF data tracker login to join a session. And the great thing about that is that when you join a session, your presence is tied to the data tracker account, and therefore the blue sheets, the attendance records for that session, can be generated automatically. And if you're a chair, that means you don't have to do anything to generate your blue sheets. It just happens automatically. And I see Paul in the queue. Paul, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering, you say the data tracker, account, I'm a chair. I've had that for a long time. But for general people that just sign up to come to a meeting, do they automatically get a data tracker account?
Yeah, I think as part of the registration process for the meeting, they will be prompted to create a data tracker account if they don't already have one, yes. So if you register for the meeting successfully, you should end up at the end of that process with a data tracker account that you can use to join the meeting sessions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good question. Thank you. A few nuances about the data tracker account. Another feature of it is that if you are the designated chair for a session, that means when you log in to join the session, you will automatically have the chair role in Meetup. And that means that you can do the chair things like share your screen without asking permission. Yeah, Paul.
Okay, that was the other question I was waiting to ask, but I was waiting for the right time. Is there any way for chairs to test using the chair role without there being a session until the session comes up?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we did have 2 testing sessions for chairs previously.
Yeah.
But for the specific chair role, we will have these schedulable slots throughout IETF meeting week. And we'll send a note out to the working group chairs or the session chairs so that they can sign up for those slots, and then they can log into Meetup using a special code that will allow them to join that test session as in the chair role, and then they can do anything they want as chair. So
okay,
the short answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there will be, you can request a test session during the week to practice ahead. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so there's no way to do that before meeting week.
Yeah, actually, we hadn't thought about that or hadn't planned for that, but I'll talk to the Meetup folks and see if we can set up like a day the week before IETF meeting week to test.
So this isn't something that they can just have permanently running somewhere that people can use on demand.
Yeah, no, well, that's exactly what happens that during the meeting week is that it is just running constantly and people can use it on demand. The trick is that because those test sessions aren't tied to a data tracker, and we use a token to join in the chair role, it's you just want to avoid collision, so you do need to schedule.
Wow. Okay.
That's the trick. Yeah. Thanks. Good question. And I'll ask. Well, we have someone from Medico here on the call, so they'll also take it. But I'll ask. Let me just take a note. And I see Al. Al, please go ahead.
I seem to remember last time that we had the opportunity to schedule sessions the weekend before, and I was able to do that a lot easier than at other times, and it had more relevance to whatever the state of my machine was in terms of updates and things like that. So and that was very helpful for those of us who had a Monday morning session going. So I hope that we can get some extra time to do the testing. There were some tricks that I found last time that were very helpful, and some of the landscape may have changed. So I'd just like to endorse the idea that we get a little time before the meeting week. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Point taken. And I'm 99% sure it's possible. So we'll make that happen. One note that you're allowing me to point out right now, Al, is that when you stop, if you want to stop sending audio, you do need to click the microphone again to stop the audio stream. And that's the kind of the way all the media buttons work, is that you start the stream and then you stop the stream, or you enter the queue and you remove yourself from the queue. And as chair, I can remove you from the queue or stop your stream. And we'll go through that in a little bit more detail. We talked about joining the sessions and the fact that you can join as a chair to the sessions you're chairing because of the data tracker login. And we had some questions. Are there any other questions before we move along? Yes, please, go ahead. I see. Okay. Great. Well, I don't see any further questions. So what we'll do is we'll start a tour. Yes, please. Okay. Someone's testing out the buttons, it looks like, which is great. So what we'll do is we'll go through the general flow of the, or just a flow around a tour of the Medico interface. And again, some things have changed. Many of these things seem familiar or might look familiar, but to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my Medico window in Medico. So you'll get a sort of a recursive view of, it'll look a little odd, but it's easiest to see what's going on that way, I think. And a note here is that you need to have, you can only share one desktop or one screen at a time. So, and you actually need to stop screen sharing before you start the next screen sharing. So I've stopped my screen sharing, and I'll pick my Medico window to share. And I also say that while I think of it, that sharing is behaviors are browser dependent. So depending on what browser you are choosing to use, you'll encounter slight differences, and also OS dependent. So in Firefox, and I think in Chrome, you can share individual application windows, but in Safari on Mac OS, you have to share your entire screen. So it's not possible to choose an individual window. It's something you can manage for sure, depending by arranging your windows, but just something to know ahead of time, and a good reason to start to practice sharing before you start a session. Yeah, so here we see my Medico window, and you can see up in the left-hand corner the IETF logo. Just below that, you can see my picture and my name and the role that I'm in this session as. The picture is taken from your data tracker profile. So if you'd like to have a picture next to your name while you're using Medico, the best thing to do is to request a picture be added to your data tracker profile. And you can do that by emailing IETF-action@ietf.org. And if there isn't a profile picture in data tracker, people will the Medico will look for a picture in the Gravatar service, which is a widely used service by different online applications. Below my name and my picture, you can see that there is this indication that I'm speaking, and I just learned the other day that this is actually the waveform. So you can kind of tell your level by this waveform in terms of audio. There are other indications about who's speaking, and I'll talk about those as well. But you only see your own waveform. Just next to that is the raise hand, which puts you in the queue, and you can see that there is a section in the participant list column that shows the queue, and people are added to that in the order that they asked to enter the queue, and you can take your hand down by clicking that same button, which has got the tooltip leave queue there. Next to that is the share screen sharing button, and again, it's a sort of a toggle where if you're sharing your screen at the moment, clicking it will stop the share. And you can tell where it is by the color of the icon. If it's blue, that means you are sharing that media stream. If it's gray, it means you are not sharing. And there is also a shape indication with a square as like a stop button, or a triangle for sort of a play button for each media stream. We have video here, and same deal. A video starts and stops, and you can control that at any time. So even as a participant who isn't in the queue, you can start sending video, and the same with audio. So you don't need to actually be in the queue or recognized by the chair to start either of those media streams. You do need to have, there is the chair does control the screen sharing, however. So then moving into the upper right, you can see this is the presentation view. This shows the screen being shared and then the videos being shared along the right side of it. The gallery view just shows the videos being shared, so it doesn't show the screens being shared. And if you have multiple video streams that you want to see it in a larger view, and you have the materials being shared maybe or in a separate view or a separate browser window, then you can use that view. The note-taking tool, so the note-taking tool is linked, as it has been before, to the Kodi MD notepad for the session. And so you can see that you can open this inside the Medico window, and this is the notepad linked to this session. So each session has its own notepad. And new for this time around is you can actually open the Kodi MD notepad in a separate tab, and then you can tear that tab off if you like. So that's pretty slick. And then you can go back to the presentation view if you want to track the materials there. Next to that is the folder, which is the meeting materials. And again, this is linked to Data Tracker, so that if there were meeting materials or agenda for this session, then you would be able to see them here. There are none of those for this session, so they don't appear, but for every session during the meeting, the materials in Data Tracker will show up. You can find them just by using this button here. Information is a quick tour, the small I, in case you need a reminder about Medico controls. And then next to that is a notification setting if you want audible settings for either new media streams being shared or new chat messages. You can find that there. Then in settings, you can actually, this is also new for this time, you can change the input devices for your audio and your video. I don't have any but a single option in this system, so doesn't apply to me. But then the last bit is that you have the leave the room door. So if you click on that, you'll be asked if you really do want to leave, and if you say yes, then you will leave the Medico session. So with that, I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions about any of those things. Nicholas, please go ahead. You'll need to click on the audio, send audio button up here in the upper left. Great, fantastic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, cool. So that answers my first question.
Excellent.
Second, the question I had was from the notepad. If this one will be the one that will be used during the meetings for note taking?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And the slides will be shown by the chairs as usual, or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The slides should be displayed by the chairs, or if the chair decides to have a presenter display or share their own desktop, then that's how that'll be managed. So it'll be through this screen sharing button here.
Okay, and the meeting material will be uploaded directly on the folder I can see here.
I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
The meeting material will be uploaded by the chairs before the meeting.
Yes, as they usually do. They'll be uploaded
Okay.
to Data Tracker. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That answers all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. Paul, please go ahead.
Couple questions on this. When you send audio, it's really just it's being sent to the server, and the chair has to enable it, right?
No, when you send audio, you can, as a participant, send audio at any time. So this is a great question. Both the audio and video are entirely in the control, sending it is entirely in the control of the participants. So you can think of it as like if you have a meeting room mental model, people can come to the microphone and be recognized to speak in the queue, or they can stand up in the middle of the room and just start speaking. Either option is available to the participant. Of course, it's preferred that they come to the queue and be recognized just to keep discussion manageable, but sending audio or video is entirely in the control of the participants. The chairs do have the options, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, to stop people from sending or to stop their audio or video.
Okay, so with audio, it's all mixed. And what happens with video? Do you have multiple thumbnails or something?
Yeah, please. If anybody would like to send video, in fact, I would encourage you to do that. I think we are configured to send up to 20 simultaneous videos, and so everybody who wants to in this session should be able to send video.
So presumably, if there's 100 of people sending video, we aren't going to see them all.
Yes, there are limits set up. Hey, good to see everybody. Stay right there for a moment, if I could ask you to. Excellent. I'm just going to show the gallery view. So this is what the gallery. If you click on the gallery view button, you can see the gallery view, and you don't get to see the shared desktop or screen, but you do get to see everybody in a little slightly larger. And to your question, Paul, about the number of videos that can be shared, there are limits set on the server of the number of video streams, and I think the default is going to be somewhere around 20. And so I think in typical sessions, what will happen is that because it does require bandwidth for each participant as additional videos are streamed, I think the typical way of working will be that chairs will share video, and anybody presenting will share video, or maybe anybody in the queue will share video, but in general, participants will not share video.
Okay. Regarding the notepad, it's just a dedicated notepad for the session. Whether the chairs choose to use it as the official notes for the session, I presume, is up to the chairs. You know, if they want to take their notes some other way, you know, or designate a scribe that takes the notes some other way, that's their business, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly the notepad that is linked from the data tracker entry for the data tracker agenda entry for the session. So it's usable or not exactly the same way that that notepad and data tracker agenda is usable.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks. Inez.
Hi, I would like to know, please, how we do to assign to someone the role of chair. Sorry, it's not related with these settings, probably the question. Because at the beginning you say, can you assign me the chair role? But I could not do that. I don't know how to do it. And if, of course, I think there is no limit of the amount of chairs. I mean, 2 at least or 3, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm looking for Tobia to correct me if I'm wrong, but by default, if you are a chair for a session, the designated chair for a session during the meeting week, when you join that session using your data tracker account, you will join as chair.
Okay.
Meetuco will know that you are the chair for the session, so you will have the chair role in Meetuco. There are some other people like responsible ADs for a session, or I think for IETF sessions, the IETF chair, who will also have superpowers, if you will. But otherwise, I think it's possible to designate chairs, but by default, it'll be the chairs in the designated chairs for the session that will join as chairs automatically. So you won't have to do anything.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Paul, please go ahead.
When you talk about chairs for the session, but I didn't even know there was a notion of a chair for a session distinct from a chair from a work group. Is there a distinction?
Well, no, that's what I meant. I mean, for every working group session, the chairs for that working group will be designated chairs. The only reason I use chair and session chair instead of working group chair is because there are also research groups, so there are chairs of the research groups who will also join as chair for their session. Yes. Great. I'm trying to see. I see there's chat. Good. Test chat message. Chat message work. So great. All good questions. Thank you for asking them. And I think we helpfully covered some questions about chairing a session too. So that's great. I'm going to continue the tour, but we'll pause again. So if we pick up in the lower right-hand corner, you can see there's a sort of a circular button, arrows, spinning arrows icon. And if you have trouble with your audio, it's often helpful to just reconnect using that button. And I see Sue is testing out the private chat feature, which is great, and we'll talk about that some more later. And the toggle audio is just a unmute button for the Meetuco session, and next to it is the local volume slider. You can see the recording indicator and then sort of the bit stream, so you can tell what kind of bit streams your audio is sending, and then the Meetuco logo in the lower left. And I'm going to hop right into the this stack of here with the participants. So the first thing you'll notice is that this participant list here includes the feature when you mouse over, there's the option to open a private chat with someone. So I'll open the chat with Sue and right back. So this is a private chat window that just you and Sue can see, unless you're sharing your Meetuco desktop, in which case everybody can, or Meetuco window, in which case everybody sees it. So that's just a private chat feature. And we'll talk a little bit more about the group chat. So above the participants are the chairs, and here is, as a pretty straightforward, it's just a chair. And above the chairs is the queue, and we talked a little bit before already about how people are put in the queue in the order in which they join the queue, and the queue can be managed by the chairs. So you may have seen when other people joined the queue, the hand had, from my view anyway, had a little orange X. So it's possible for me as chair to remove people from the queue. It's also possible for me as chair to control to stop people's audio or video streams. And as chair, I need to grant people permission to share their screens. So screen sharing is by request. And one of the things the chair can do is either accept or deny the request. And again, if you are looking to have a new person share the screen, you need to stop any screen that's already being shared. So you can only share one screen at a time. One chair feature you'll see here, and this is because my view, is that chairs can mute groups of people at once. And this might be helpful in case there are people who are not in the queue, but have left their microphone open or opened their microphone by example. So this mute all mutes everybody but the chairs. So that includes people in the queue and the people who, if you just want to mute people who are not in the queue, you can use the mute audience button instead. It's possible for that multiple people to have send audio at once, as we saw. So it could be the case that you would like to have, or people are in the queue and having a back and forth discussion. It's easier for them to just leave their audio on. So it could be the case that you have 2 or 3 people in the queue having a back and forth discussion, and you just leave all their audio on, but you'd like to mute the rest of the people who are not in the queue. And so that's what this does. Great. Well, I think we're getting to the really exciting part here. It's all good, but this is the participant list. You can see the number of participants is indicated here, and this view shows the participants. The next tab over is the chat panel, and there are a few new features here. The first one is that it's possible to detach the chat. This is one of the most requested things that we had after 108. So if you click on that, your chat panel should open in a new browser window separate from the main Metaco browser window, so that it's possible to keep tabs of the participant list and then have a separate window for chat. One note, which is great, is you can see here that I have opened a separate browser window. You can't see it. I have opened the chat in a separate browser window, but it does not have focus. So my focus is here on the main Metaco window. And even if I can see the open browser window, if it doesn't have focus and I'm not looking at the chat panel, I'll get an indication that there's a new chat to see. And that's because that separate chat window might be covered by other windows. So you can just see here that once I apply focus to this chat tab, or even if I just apply focus to the detached chat panel, the notification will go away. So then the last element here in this is the third tab, which is a show of hands. The show of hands tool is new. You may have remembered the experimental hum tool from IETF 108. The feedback that we got was that that wasn't as useful. This show of hands tool is a specification taken from the SHMU working group. So if you have thoughts about it, it's a draft that's being discussed in the SHMU working group. And I'm just going to run through a few examples to show how this works, because this might be something, especially as a chair, that you would like to use. The show of hands tool allows the indication. The idea is to sort of replicate the in-person situation where you want to have people raise hands in response to a question. So a common question in a working group session is, have you read the draft? And as a chair, you can type in a question here. You don't need to, but you can. And then you can start the session. And then you'll see that as chair and as participant, you have the option to either affirmatively raise your hand, to affirmatively not raise your hand, or to simply do nothing. if you decide to do something, then you definitely do have to do something. You can't raise your hand and then decide you don't want to do anything. You can raise your hand. You can change it to you do not want to raise your hand, which is sort of an indication that you have heard the question, but you don't want to raise your hand. And you can change back and forth. So it's possible to change back and forth while the session is open. And you can see from the results here that people can do both. So it looks like we have about 8 people who have heard the question and are changing their responses. And there are 3 people, because there are 11 participants, so there are 3 people who've decided they're just not gonna, they have either haven't heard or they're not gonna respond at all. And then yes, that's right, John, like, I think the idea is, and this is in the specification, which is the idea is, if you've heard the question and you've decided to respond, you can't unhear the question. So you cannot raise your hand, but you can't have no opinion about it. So as a chair, I can end the session, and that's a snapshot in time of what the results were. So if people are changing back and forth, when you end the session, you'll take the snapshot in time, and you'll see the results. Another feature is that you can have multiple questions. This is a different question. I should point out that you should see an indication that you have a new question to be asked in the raise a show of hands tool in your Meetica window, which will prompt you to click over to that tab. And then once you're in that tab, you can make a choice or not. You can ignore it if you will. I'm astounded that only 6 people are going to stand up for chocolate here, but okay. Okay, we got 7. Good enough. And again, I'll end the session. And another new feature is that you can see the history of the hand raises. So this is also a change in behavior from the hum tool, in that there's some record of it here directly in the Meetica session. So, any questions about the raise the hand tool? I see Paul. Paul, please go ahead.
Are the results of the raise hands queries captured permanently? You know, as part of the session recording or something?
Yeah, I don't know about that, actually. It's a good question. For sure, I think the usual practice, I don't know what the usual practice is in terms of chairing. It could be recorded in the notes. I think usually in practice, at least my observation is that usually what will happen is there'll be a call for a show of hands, and then the chair will sort of summarize, like, oh, it looks like I think there are a couple of people who have read the draft, or it looks like there are a couple of people who think that we should not work on this, and if those people could come to the microphone. So I will ask if there's a permanent recording in the Meetica recording. I kind of think no, but I'll ask. Okay, great. Yeah. Again, if there are specific requests about the tool itself, for example, automatically capturing to the notepad, that's something to bring up in the SHMU working group. I know that there have been conversations in the past about how close we want to get to voting or not voting, and raising hands might be perceived as voting. So yeah. Al, please go ahead.
I somehow missed whether the audience can see easily see the window where you're preparing the question that ends up finalized. once you release the question for the hand raising phase. And as you know, very oftentimes there's some wordsmithing of the question that goes on before it gets asked. Is it generally possible to display that with the tool? I can't remember whether I saw that on the screen or not. Thanks.
I don't think it is displayed before it gets asked. I don't think like, the participants do not see the question as it's being typed in. I don't believe. So, but your point is well taken, which is that there is some care. Some care pays off in terms of how you phrase the question that's being asked. Even if this is true even in person, if you're like you said, if you're asking a question, phrasing is important, and it probably pays to test out the phrasing before actually typing it into the tool. So
Typing it on a slide so that everybody can see it, and then copying that into the dialogue for the hand raising tool. Thank you.
yeah, the slides, or maybe in the group chat. So that's a good tip for chairs. I'll take that down, maybe add it to the documentation. Great, and again, this is a specification that's being developed or being discussed anyway in the SHMU working group. So definitely encourage folks to chime in there if they have specific suggestions. Okay, well, that is the tour. Inez, please go ahead.
I did not appear as a chair. I joined with the data tracker data, but I think I was not chair assigned. So because I understood that when we log in, we are going to be in the chair role, right? But
no, sorry. Yes, sorry for the confusion. You appear as chair if you are designated a chair for that session in Data Tracker. So everybody in this session is designated as a participant.
okay.
Participant session. So yeah, so it's not possible to log in via Data Tracker to join this session as a chair. It might.
Yeah.
As we
yes. Okay. And when we have this as yeah. Okay. And for example, if the chairs have some kind of problems and we want to assign someone else for the participants as a chair role, we cannot do that, right?
Yeah, the chairs cannot designate chairs, other chairs. If there's a problem in terms of in the meeting and during the session, I think that Medico will be monitoring the session so that they can jump in and help and possibly assist on that. But in advance, yeah, it's not something that the chairs can do on their own. That's right.
Okay. And for example, if we are going to do this test meeting for chairing, we are going to be assigned as a chairs, right? So we are going. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, and just to clarify that when we do the test session with chairs, you will join as a chair because you'll have a special code and for that session, so that you can jump into that session and you'll join as chair. It won't be by Data Tracker. Well, we're about a quarter before the hour. If there are no other questions about the Medico interface at the moment, what I would suggest is anybody who thinks that they will have to share their screen during a session of IETF 109, if you haven't already confirmed that your setup works to do that, I would strongly recommend that we take a moment to test that. So I see Bruno asking to share his screen, so great. I'm going to stop my screen, and then Bruno, I will allow you to share yours or grant you screen access. And so what should happen is you will be prompted to fantastic. I see a beautiful picture of a beach. So that works great. Great. And I see Susan. So you can stop sharing your own screen, Bruno, but I also can revoke it. Ah, you did it on your own. Great. Now I see Sue asking to share, and I will click Sue's button. You should be prompted to grant permission. There's some tricks if you're on Mac OS and you haven't shared your screen with Meetecho before. You will need to go into the system control panel and allow screen recording for the application for the browser. So Sue, if you are running into issues, if you want to start audio to let us know what you're running into, maybe we can work through. Oh, excellent. Well, we see your browser window. And great, that seems working well.
Get the background going. Can you see the background as well?
No, we just see your browser window.
Okay, so I didn't share the whole screen. I just shared the browser window. Let me try again.
Okay. I'll have to grant permission again if you stopped, so I think. Take my hand down. There is one thing.
It doesn't seem to want to share the entire screen. It doesn't allow me to. The share button is gray, but it doesn't allow me to share it. So is that a Chrome issue?
Yes, there's if I recall correctly, and I don't use Chrome, there are some tabs along the sharing that you need to click on.
Yep,
like
I've got a tab for entire screen, and it simply will not share my entire screen.
Yeah, I think that might be a Chrome issue.
Okay, I can share the application window.
Mhm.
I can share the Chrome tab window. Let me get something there's the Meetecho piece. Can you see the Meetecho? But I cannot share my whole screen with Chrome. Is that something that's browser based?
Yeah, I think the screen sharing details are definitely browser and OS based.
Okay, so I need to be aware that I can share my screen, but I can't share the. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something I have to work on.
Okay.
So, because if I want to share presentations, I have to share them on my
Yeah.
Okay.
What I generally do is I have a PDF of the presentation, and I just share the PDF window.
Okay, I'll try that next.
Okay. I'm gonna jump ahead. Oh, are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a PDF up going.
Okay.
Just a minute.
I'm gonna work through the queue then. Thank you, Sue. So John, please go ahead. If you you want to discuss or let us know what's going on, you can start audio as well. Oh, fantastic.
A modal dialogue open, so I couldn't share my audio. But yep, looks like it works. I was just hunting through all of the different options of which application window do you want to share, but it seems like it works good.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for trying it out. Appreciate it. Super. I'm gonna stop the screen sharing of that, and we'll get to Al. Al, please go ahead. And Sue, I'm gonna. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about that I've missed sharing is that you can tell who's speaking because their icon in the participant stack has this blue pulsing circle on it. Oh, yeah. Standard Development, FCC Gigabit Measurement Working Group. Fantastic. See your screen now. So you can tell who's sending audio, both because they have a green background. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Al, please.
Like John, once I was focused on getting content displayed, I lost my button for the audio. I won't have so much trouble with that as a chair speaking constantly. So thank you.
Yeah, your screen looks good and your audio sounds good. Fantastic. So I'm going to revoke your screen and we'll go to Dominique. If you're sending video, just to continue that thought, if you're sending video, you can also see on my video that there's a blue pulsing around the video. So that's helpful if you want to know who's speaking. And also, like I said, if you're sending audio, even if you're not speaking, or you're sending media, even if you're not speaking, you have a green background. So, and we see what looks to be some very interesting charts. Experimental protocol.
The browser. Yeah. Excellent.
Your audio, Dominique, your audio sounds a little clipped, and I can't tell if it's a problem on my end or your end. Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, I'm sorry. The audio is very choppy. It's difficult for me to understand. So, but the screen looks really good. Okay, thank you very much for testing. Stop that. Inez. And if you want to talk through and fantastic. Oh, we need to get you an updated screenshot for we have a new hero image. I'm curious, where are you presenting this sometime soon, Inez?
Sorry?
Are you making this presentation soon, or has it already been made?
It's already made for Argentina. I like my lessons learned from the IETF.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. I'll send you an email to follow up. I'd love to see this.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you.
That worked great. Thank you very much, Inez. Sue, let's try it. So this is the test to see if we can share the entire screen. Oh, okay.
My mic is still.
Okay, yeah. Something changed.
An application screen. So it works. I didn't get the whole screen. I'll have to work on that.
Okay, thanks. So let us know if you run into any issues, and we can help with it. But I know people have successfully shared. Well, I don't know if they shared full screens with Chrome before, but I know they've shared various applications and windows within applications in previous tests. So, okay, let me see what's going on. Okay. Yes. Okay, John. I don't know if John's still here. Yeah. That's exactly the magic thing in the Mac system preference. Yeah. It's not obvious, but it is in the documentation. So if you read the documentation, we have screenshots there and everything to show exactly what you need to do. There is one trick about the Mac OS thing, which is that it's impossible apparently to grant permission to an application for screen recording until it first tries to do so. So it doesn't appear in the list of applications that you can pick to grant permission until it first tries. So you actually have to fail first and then go and grant permission, and then in Mac OS, and then restart it and try it again. And then once you do that, then you're able to do it. So if you're trying a new browser, for example, you have to fail at sharing the screen, go into the Mac OS system preferences, allow it to share the screen, or to record the screen, and then go back and restart the browser. So, well, we're about 5 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks to everybody for testing things out. I hope it really helps your IETF meeting go more smoothly. We'll follow up in terms of getting some chair testing sessions ahead of the meeting week, possibly on the weekend, as you suggested, Al. Yeah. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you guys for joining. I want to make a plug for the IETF Hackathon. That starts next in about 3 days. It's free to participate in, and if you, I think there are 21 projects and over 200 people already participating. So there's a really good chance you'll find something you're interested in if you want to help on or dive into some running code. It's a great opportunity to try something new out, even if you haven't done it before. And again, you have to sign up for it. And the kickoff session, I think, is on Sunday night, depending on your time zone, either Sunday night or Monday, depending on your time zone. And it's free. There's no cost to it at all. So
It's 5 a.m. UTC on Monday.
yeah, okay. So 5 a.m. UTC on Monday. So if you happen to be on the west coast of the US, for example, then you're Sunday. You have something to do Sunday night, which is great. Great. Well, I think that covers it. I'm happy to stay around and answer any questions or help with some additional tests. So I'll be here for a few more minutes. But otherwise, hope to see you all around IETF 109. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Great weekend, you too.
Thanks, Inez. Thanks, Bruno.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Okay, it looks like pretty much everybody is gone. So I'm gonna close the session. Or let's say I'm gonna leave the session. I think the session will close in a few minutes anyway, automatically, or magic by Mideko will close the session at the top of the hour. So okay, fantastic, good. Thank you for taking that up. Perfect. Thanks, Sue. Bye, everybody.